Hey guys, Alan the Motivated Sloth here, and welcome to my first episode of Dev Diary, where I talk about my ongoing journey to become a game developer. This first episode will cover my experiences and lessons in the first 3 months of learning how to use Unreal Engine. The game on the screen right now is my personal project that I've been working on using the experiences collected from tutorials and some experimentation in the past 3 months. The version that I've started with was Unreal Engine 4.16. Although it may not look much, I was very happy for getting to this point in my journey. When I first installed Unreal Engine and opened up the interface, I already felt defeated. By just looking at the interface as a beginner, I felt overwhelmed and directionless. So many negative thoughts came up that tried to stop my progression, like, where do I start? This is stupid. There must be an easier game engine, or game development, I might as well be homeless. I knew that if I gave in to my negative thoughts, I wouldn't even put my foot in the starting line. I had to tell myself that learning everything in a short amount of time is very impractical. The ultimate goal is to become a game developer, and so I have to think of the long term and get it stuck in my head that this is a marathon, not a race. If this was a race, I will eventually burn out and exhaust myself for a track I was not prepared for. This correlates to my second experience, which is about controlling my ambitions. It's really easy to get excited and fantasize about making a game you've imagined. Who wouldn't want to build the next Diablo or League of Legends? It's important to have those ambitions, but at one point, I let it control me. During the first week, I wanted to create that game I fantasized so much in my head, but the reality was, there were so many walls that were beyond my experience, and I started to question my determination. And so by questioning this determination, I lowered my standards to match that fantasy that I had in my head. This process continued several times, and eventually, I started to feel frustrated and ready to call it quits because I felt like I was creating a game that was impossible. So I had to control my ambitions and start out small. I grinded through several tutorials that were really super basic in the Unreal Engine channel, like the endless runner, collisions, event triggers, animations, line traces, particles, and some community-made YouTube tutorials. Eventually, I was able to tackle and digest more intermediate tutorials, which helped me regain that ambition once more. This experience was so important to me because it taught me a lot about how if we don't control our ambitions, it can sometimes block us from progressing. Lastly, I wanted to talk about tutorials. Most of my learning experience in Unreal Engine was mostly self-taught and relied heavily on YouTube tutorials. Although YouTube is filled with wonderful channels that are very informative, most of the tutorials are very outdated, going all the way back to 2008. I basically spent more time searching for specific up-to-date tutorials rather than working on my actual project. These shortages of tutorials are very frustrating for a beginner like myself, but this eventually became an important part of my journey because it forced me to be creative. For example, I wanted my melee game to be based around spawning hitboxes to apply damage. But a quick search on YouTube led me to several tutorials about attaching a box collision on my weapon, which was not the mechanic I was looking for. After several hours of searching, I finally found one video that showcased spawning hitboxes. It wasn't even a tutorial, but I learned about a node called multi-box trace for objects. I basically spent a couple more hours experimenting with this node, and I eventually got the desired mechanic I wanted to direct my game to. This experience had taught me a lot about how creativity is a key component to creating games, and that sometimes you have to create your own solutions instead of relying on tutorials. And that's my 3-month experience so far in becoming a game developer. I hope any new aspiring game developers can see this and gain some inspiration from it. I also hope to keep this YouTube channel constantly updated so I can share my progress. Before I go, I will be including several links to some of my favorite Unreal Engine YouTubers that had helped me teach noobs such as myself. Please support them. Thanks for watching everyone, and I hope to see you all on the next video.